Well, welcome back to another evening of racing here at Syndicate Motorsport. This time, round 7 of our league at the LMP2 Saturday League. Need to tweak the settings on. I've just noticed that is showing the wrong thing, but welcome back. Hopefully you can have a good race today. A few more players have joined us, which is nice. We had a bit of a light attendance last week, which was the Le Mans race. But I'm glad to see that we have a few more people joining us today on the track. Hello Red and Vars, good to see you in chat already. But yes, going into round number 7, we're just kind of wrapping up qualifying here with another 34 seconds left on the clock, and at the moment Eric is on top, which is interesting because Eric has been struggling the last couple of rounds, but seems to be back into the swing of things here. And is sitting at the top of the podium right now. Andrew in P2, Akashik in P3, and Neo, who's glad to see him back on track, is in P4. Interestingly, Forrest McCormack down in 6th place is not where I would expect to see Forrest, but we have had a few interesting rounds. Forrest couldn't make Portimao last weekend. Forrest is currently leading our championship with 160 points. And Andrew, his closest competitor in P2, is on 149 points, with Akashik in 3rd, 121, and Binding in 4th place on 110. Eric in 5th on 109. In terms of team standings, Wild Hogs Racing, which includes Andrew and Binding, is on 259 points, and Amrath Motorsport, which is Forrest and Akashik, is in P2 with 216 points. AlphaTari, which is Viles and Eric, that is 204 points in 3rd place. So not as close a tie or fight for the top as we have seen previously, but it's going to be interesting to see whether Eric can score some points today and claw back any ground against Forrest McCormack. And likewise Andrew, P2 in the championship and P2 on qualifying today, stands to make some significant gains here today if he can oust Forrest McCormack from that top spot. Yeah, should be some interesting racing here. Weather seems to be a little bit overcast here in Silverstone, as is traditional in the UK. And what's Andrew up to today? He's wheel spinning by the looks of it. Practicing his starts potentially. Yeah, looking forward to this one. This is our penultimate race. We've got Yas Marina, which is our 8th and final round next weekend, and that'll bring our LMP2 league to a close. And I'm really intrigued to see how the players end up on the final podium. But we have 1.5 minutes to go until the beginning of our race, and of course with this LMP2 league the race format is a 1 hour US race with no second race and a single mandated pit stop. So pit window opens from 15 minutes onwards. I think it closes at the 45-minute mark, and tyre and fuel usage are accelerated, so there will be at least one mandatory pit stop necessitated by the need to refuel or to change tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. The pit stops do add an interesting dynamic to the racing, and we've seen strategies relating to pits being played into this race or into this series so far, so interesting to see how that will happen today. And in chat, we've got Red and Vals just confirming if our final race at Yas Marina is a full night race. It's a well-lit circuit, so a night race would be quite interesting there. So our drivers are transported to the grid. And let's go with a good camera angle. This one here. One minute and 40 seconds to go. Good luck, Viles. Yeah, so the starts have been quite an important factor in the league so far. If you get it just right, you can get a significant advantage off the line. The cars can bog down a little bit, so a little bit of clutch is recommended. Thank you, Red. So we're starting the final round next weekend at 22:30 in game time. It should be a good night race. Yeah, fairly tight grid looking at the splits at the moment. I remembered to turn on the streamer bot, so redeeming camera things should work properly this time. So lights are up, engines are revving, and away we go. Eric off to a solid start there with Andrew bogging down slightly, but in the background you've got Neo coming up the centre, providing an early bit of challenge, but we are into the first couple of corners, and thus far everything seems to be okay. Viles making some early gains here, up to third place, with Neo dropping down to fourth for the time being, but Neo will get the inside line for the next corner, and that will allow Viles to challenge, but like Viles is in a pretty good spot here. Gets pushed off slightly, not by contact, but just giving space. And in the background you can see Forrest McCormack and Akashik, teammates there, as you have Viles, Neo and Forrest making a little bit of light contact there, nothing too substantial. Forrest losing out a little bit there as he tucks it back in behind Neo. And the grid thus far looking pretty clean. And for the onboard cameras, you can see from the rear view of Viles here, the remainder of the grid bringing up the rear. And as they come up to the S's, everyone still relatively bunched up, which is good to see. But for the time being, it's Eric Axelson leading the pack. In the background you've got Andrew, just a little bit further behind. But Eric's opened up a pretty commanding gap already. You can see from here that he has quite a substantial lead over Andrew already, and that's a good start to the race for Eric. Staying clean. 151.233 on the opening lap there for Eric. You can see just how much time he's put in between himself and Andrew already. Akshik and Neo going toe to toe. And from the cockpit of Ahmad Sawa's car, you can see Neo up ahead. Ahmad taking an interesting line, they're cutting on the inside. A little bit of lag spike there for Neo by the looks of it. But Neo hanging on to Akshik quite convincingly. But Akshik's running a few seconds behind now, 5 seconds off the leader, I think that is. Yes, it is. So, in the background, you can see Alma trying to get some heat into the tyres by the looks of it. Perhaps struggling for grip. Behind him, Binding in 8th place. So last lap for Eric was a 1:45.375 compared to Andrew's 1:45.597. On board with Eric here, you can see what he's seeing from the cockpit, and nice to have a bit of clear air for an LMP2 car because aero wash is a little bit of a factor, whereas Eric doesn't have to worry about that for the time being. Till of course he goes round and laps anyone. You get a real sense of the speed that you can attack the corners here at Silverstone in LMP2 with. In the aero to its full effect. So back to Akashik, who seems to be leading the midfield with Neo and Ahmad behind. No actual close battles developing on the track just yet. At least not until Andrew gets a little bit closer to Eric, if that's going to happen. Viles running in 3rd place as well, so good news for Team AlphaTauri with Viles and Eric, of course, part of that team. Ooh, and looks like Forrest ran slightly off track there. Ooh, and Akashik spinning a little bit, potentially. Looked like he had a bit of a loose rear end there. But does manage to maintain the correct direction. On board from Neo. Of course, driving the livery that I think Daddy produced. Interesting to see whether Neo can keep pace with Akashik, who is seemingly getting a little bit further away. Here's Forrest McCormack, our championship leader for the time being. And at least for the time being, keeping Akashik at bay, although Akashik starting to get to that 0.4 second gap, which is where the slipstream starts to kick in. It does seem like Akashik is able to put a little bit of pressure into his teammate here, but Forrest might have something preventing him from hitting pace. Eric Axelson, fastest lap, 1:45.375 there, just slipping in there with a new best lap. I'll expect that to increase as the fuel burns off. Here comes Akashik now with an opportunity. Really running on the same medium compound tyre. At the front you've got Eric with Andrew in hot pursuit, although Eric still maintaining a healthy distance to Andrew. Wouldn't be surprised if that was slightly below 1 second gap now. So for the time being at least, everyone's going to be on the same age tyres, given we've not had any pit stops yet. Pit window will open at 15 minutes, so drivers have the choice of pitting any time from 15 minutes up to 45. And if it's like any of the previous races, it probably starts seeing the pit stops begin, or intentional pit stops beginning at halfway through the race. The last lap there was a 1:45.698 for Eric. That's a little bit slower than his best lap time of a 1:45.3. And you can see there as well, Andrew very slightly quicker, but we're talking very small differences of 7 milliseconds. Viles on a 1:45.951, slightly slower than Forrest McCormack, and Akshik there 1:46.386, which is a fair chunk behind Forrest McCormack. Let's head back to Neo in 6th place, who has Ahmad Sawa 0.8 of a second behind. Not close enough for Slipstream just yet, but it's certainly the closest on the track at the moment. And Neo running quite wide there, which may allow Ahmad to catch up a little bit more. So the Silverstone cameras are working a treat. Some really good camera angles being presented here. Eric goes faster again, 1:45.136. I suspect we will see a 1:44 from Eric within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Andrew now 1.6 seconds behind, so the gap to Eric is increasing. Meanwhile, Ahmad now closing to around half a second behind Neo. On board now with Ahmad as they try and close this gap to Neo. Quite a big gap there. Neo's dropped down to P8. I'm binding now. So despite a auspicious start, it's not quite going Neo's way right now. Back to Forrest McCormack, currently running in P4, 2.3 seconds behind Viles at this stage, with Akshik 1.4 behind. Again, pretty solid results here for Team Amrath if they can both come in the top 5. But of course, Forrest McCormack here looking to extend their championship lead as much as possible. So I suspect they will be pushing for a podium finish at the very least. At the moment, Eric continuing to extend the lead here. 2.4 second gap between Eric and Andrew. Eric's just making this look easy. As I mentioned before, Eric was struggling a little bit in some of the previous rounds. Didn't seem to be able to get the maximum performance out of the LMP2. Whereas now, they seem to have kind of locked in with Silverstone. Maybe it's just a type of track which is working for Eric here. But Eric's certainly on point today. Let's see if they go one faster again. Yep, 1:45.021. So we're just edging on that 1:44 lap time, which I was mentioning earlier on. Another 21 milliseconds to go until Eric proves it's possible. Bindings in the pits. Our first pit entry. And it's at the very beginning of the pit. Actually, no, it's not the pit window. Pit window's not open for another 20 or so seconds, I don't think. So is Viles doing a drive-through? Or waiting till the pit opens? That might be what he's doing here, because he's just kind of cruising along here, waiting for that last couple of seconds. Yep, there we go, just waited and pitted at the very beginning of the pit. Yeah, it's a good question, Red. I'm not entirely sure. I think Binding's banking on it being entry into the pit box, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a pit stop at that time. So, best laps, we've got 1:45s for essentially everyone from P1 through 6. 1 through 6, with Ahmad being the last of the 1:45s. So, a pretty good spread there actually for the top 8 drivers. But what we aren't seeing today, and it's rather a shame because it gives me less to talk about, but we're not seeing any battles. So Binding's back out on track, having pitted. Box also in the pits. Interesting to be coming in so early. Yeah, we'll have to hope that the pit stops shake things up a little bit and we get a little bit more tightening up of the grid. Otherwise everyone's kind of racing against themselves at the moment. I mean, it's an important skill to have, is to be able to race in clear air, not to anyone around you, and just maintain that pace. I personally find I quite enjoy having someone else around me so I can bounce off their what they're doing on track, but at the moment everyone's going to be having a little bit of a chill time in the cockpit, just racing against themselves, making sure they don't make any mistakes, focusing on maintaining fuel and tyres as much as they can. Yeah, my day was good, thank you, Red. Pretty chilled. Did some gardening, you know. Did some cooking. Adult stuff. How was your day, Red? What did you get up to? do much. Well, that's perfectly okay. A chilled weekend is always welcome. Tell me, Red, how are your plans for a wooden sim rig coming along? Have you got a design in mind? And what seat do you use for your sim rig? Did you get one from a real car, or did you buy a dedicated gaming seat? You're moving again, Red. Ooh, there we go. The 144 has landed with a 144.883 for Eric Axelsson. Andrew there with a 4.92 seconds gap to Eric at the moment. So Eric is just absolutely walking this. I do wonder though if Andrew is running a heavier fuel load and whether Eric is running lighter and will therefore need to pit earlier. Might be a strategy thing here. Neo in the pits. Oh, nice, Red. Where did you obtain that from? Average pit time is 1 minute and 32 seconds. I watched Ford versus Ferrari again yesterday. Such a good film. Almost perfectly done, I would say. Very interesting, Red. So Eric has now been on his tyres for 12 laps. And seems to be going ever quicker as the car lightens up with fuel usage. Going up to that halfway point in the race where I suspect Eric might be coming in. Yeah, I think the seat is one of the most important things in the rig, because if you don't enjoy sitting in your sim rig, then you'll never be completely at home. But I know Akashik has issues with his seat. He's not a big fan of it. So you can see Eric there, 145.165 on the last lap compared to Andrew's 145.938. And no one else is getting close to that low 145 range, let alone the 144s. So I do wonder if it's just simply Eric is locked in here and is zoned in on the car and the circuit combination, or whether this is a strategy move with a lower fuel load. But unfortunately, I can't see fuel from the commentary point of view. If I look inside the car, the steering wheel will always say 20 litres. And you can see it on the steering wheel there, top left, just fuel 20. And that never changes, unfortunately. I think fuel is locally calculated. Erdy is also pitted. Erdy here in the pits. Car number 567. Meanwhile, Forrest McCormack still running P4. It'd be interesting to see whether he comes into the pits before Akashik does, and whether that has any impact on their running order. Akashik in the background there, just floating around, about 3.5 seconds behind his teammate. Gap to Andrew now, 7.5 seconds. .144.794. Eric is absolutely on fire today. Well, it's certainly a clean race. No one's got within a mile of each other at the moment. I'm hoping there's going to be a battle somewhere in this race. Look like Neo has someone in proximity, but it's not for position. Well, that was Neo. That was Erdy. That's Binding. Erdy is chasing, 0.8 of a second behind Binding. Binding having a bit of bad luck in this league, his HDMI cable keeps disconnecting from his monitor midway through a race, and that can't be any fun. Ooh, Erdy spins. And Erdy has to turn around and try and rejoin safely. That's really bad news for Erdy. Pushing a little bit too hard there, I think. Yeah, the other closest action on track now is Panzerfaust in P7 with Raphael 1.7 seconds behind, so not super close, but getting there. But Panzerfaust enters the pits. Does Raphael? No, so Raphael overtakes. Well, the timer was getting further away there, and I realise it's because Raphael has to go around a longer part of the track, whereas Panzerfaust is taking the shortcut. Wind info, 5 miles an hour, 8 kilometres an hour. Southwest. Won't really be having much of an impact on a race like this. Okay, best lap times. Nowhere other than Eric is the 144 even remotely in their grasp, I think. Andrew, Viles, Ross McCormack, Akshik Ahmed, all solid 145s, but not really in that 144 territory yet. So 31 minutes, and Eric has typically pitted around the halfway point in the race, and that hasn't happened yet. Raphael still in the pits with Neo closest behind, but not having overtaken just yet. Here's Eric, not coming into the pits just yet. Now, what might be interesting is whether Andrew goes for the undertake, and here it is, pops into the pit lane. Being slowed down before the white line to the pit entry limit. Now the question is, can Andrew pit, get out back on track, and then overtake Eric when Eric invariably has to come in and pit as well? Forrest McCormack may also be pitting. Let's see what Forrest is going to be doing. Andrew's down to 6th place. That means Viles, Forrest, Akshik and Ahmed haven't pitted just yet. Average pit time 1 minute 14. So, Andrew's going to have to hope that he can get ahead of Viles, Forrest and Akshik. And there's Andrew coming back out. Back to our race leader then, Eric Axelsson. So Eric hasn't pitted on this lap. Andrew's back out on track in 6th place. It's going to be a question of when Eric, Viles, Forrest McCormack, Akshik or Ahmed then pit. That will shake up the running order, at least in the mid-course, where wait for all the pit stops to be completed across the grid. I think Eric's going to be pushing as far as he can. This kind of debunks my theory about the lighter fuel load for Eric. If that was the case, then they wouldn't be able to stay out this long compared to the likes of Andrew. I think that's the answer, Red. Eric is just faster. Okay, so let's see whether Eric's going to be feeling like a little pit stop. Yep, here it comes. So, Eric pits. That leaves Viles to see whether he follows suit. And Eric's in the pits, but Viles is staying out. Forrest McCormack pitting. Akshik staying out. So just like Viles, Akshik is on a slightly different strategy to Eric and Forrest. And Ahmed has stayed out as well. So Forrest McCormack is going to come out behind Eric. I was wondering whether there might be a slightly different length of time in the pits, but Eric is back out already, and that's leaving Forrest McCormack back in his original position. Yeah, Red. I think they're taking the strategies seriously. At the moment, Viles leads the race and Akshik in P2. That means that Viles is likely to be pitting. Possibly at the end of this lap. We'll have to stay and see whether that happens. But again, no real battles in this race at all. Everyone's just kind of doing their thing. I am intrigued to see whether Viles and Akshik both pit this lap. Akshik has pitted, but Viles is staying out one more. Now, I don't know if that's because Viles has simply taken more fuel, or whether they've just been doing a better job at managing fuel load. Viles is going to stay out for as long as possible. As has Ahmad Sawa, because they are also now ahead of Akshik. But Eric should be regaining his position. 144.431 for Eric, and back to P3 for Eric. Andrew will also likely be overtaking Akshik in the pits. There we go. So Andrew back to P4, Akshik down to P5, but will Forrest McCormack get out ahead of his teammate, or whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. Yeah, so Akshik back down to P6, Forrest McCormack through to P5. Now here comes Viles. Surely this is going to be the last lap before both Viles and Ahmad hit, but let's see what happens. Wow, Viles is really pushing these tyres and fuel as far as he possibly can. Ahmed also staying out quite a long time, but now finally comes in for the pits. Valves is going to be pushing for as long as possible and will undoubtedly need to pit at some point in the next 20 minutes. I mean, he has to pit at least once in the race, and the pit window will close in the next 6 minutes. On board now with Viles, our race leader for the time being. They have a 33-second gap to P2, but the average pit time is 1 minute 14, so it's very likely that Eric is going to be passing Viles before the end of this race. Here's Viles' chance, but again stays out. Well, Viles' hand will be forced by the pit window closure. But I guess Viles is trying to run lighter for longer. The CMRT HUD that we're using isn't without its faults. Look, it's only reporting Andrews having done a pit stop. Viles once again heading up to where the pit entry will be. Now, I'm going to call it that I think Viles is coming in this lap. I don't think they'll be able to get round again before the pit window closes, so it's going to be a real last-minute.com affair with Viles here. There we go. Finally, Viles into the pit. Undoubtedly Eric will now be overtaking once again. 1:45.365 there for Viles on the best lap time. Let's wait for Eric Axelson to come down the main start-finish straight here and regain the lead of this race. It is the complete opposite to Blinding Red. There's our race leader, Eric, who now resumes the top spot. And here comes Andrew, our P2 driver, who's just going to be slipping past... Actually, no, that's Blinding. Oh, sorry, I stand corrected, it was Andrew. And here's Forrest McCormack as well. But Viles is back out on track and in third place, so good chance here for Viles for a podium. Be a great result for Viles. But yeah, what an interesting race from the point of view that there has been no battling whatsoever. Despite how close the qualifying grid was, I was expecting some action. Yeah, very good result for AlphaTauri. Well, the closest two cars on track are not actually in a battle. It's Raphael here and Neo. Actually, I stand corrected. It is for position, and it's Erdy and Raphael, and they've just had a little bit of a collision. And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the entirety of the action. That looks like Andrew just overtaking. Binding's in the pits once again. So I'm not sure what's happened here, but double pit stop for Binding. Can't be intentional. Meanwhile, Eric leading the race once again into the closing 14 minutes. Apart from a very long stint from Viles, there was never really any point in this race where Eric wasn't leading. That is correct, Red. Optimal strat. So there are certain track combinations and car combinations with a good livery where it really starts to look very pretty and quite realistic. The livery that Eric and Viles are running seems to really come into its own here at Silverstone. Ah, Binding. Was it the HDMI cable this time, Binding, or did something else terrible happen? Yes, I saw you entered the pit lane before the window had opened, Binding, but you didn't get into your box till after the pit window had opened, so is it based on the pit entry or is it on the box entry? Well, it's very unfortunate, Binding. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, unfortunately, this race has been somewhat devoid of action. It's Forrest McCormack at least in 4th place with a few cars around. What caused the spin, Binding? Contact or just driver error? So the remaining 10 minutes of this race just about to begin. And at the moment it's Panzerfaust and Erdi who are the closest together. Well, they were. Looks like Akashik in the midst here with Panzerfaust battling. See what Erdi can do here. 0.6 of a second behind Panzerfaust. Never listen to Akashik. Ooh, a little bit of a curve there for Panzerfaust, which led to slow down where you wouldn't expect one. But a nudge from Erdi there, but I think Erdi did a good job of minimising any damage. The battle for 10th place is well and truly or 9th place is well and truly on track at the moment. Erdi again, a slight bump to the rear end of Panzerfaust. Erdi and Panzer taking a little bit of a trip off the beaten path there. See you, Binding. Catch you next time. So Erdi falling back, unfortunately. Panzerfaust now 1.5 seconds ahead. Meanwhile, Eric still leading, dominant with a 12-second gap to Andrew. A few more laps to go here. 6 minutes left on the clock. And at the moment, Eric set for a win. Very much needed for his points. Boris McCormack in 4th place is still going to be getting some points, but Andrew in P2 will be edging closer to Forest for the big finale next weekend, and it's going to be interesting to see how close this is going to end up being. a slight mistake for Eric. Maybe the fatigue of driving this quickly for this long is starting to kick in. 144 on that lap. Let's go to the onboard. .145, 148. So a little bit slower than his best lap time, but not exactly significant amount. Look at that though, 0.6 of a second faster than Andrew on the best lap time there for Eric. So just 3 more minutes, that's about 2 laps left in this race. Eric just coming up to the final couple of corners. Two minutes 20. Eric still pushing. Amazing gap to Andrew. So last lap for Eric. No sign of any challenge from Andrew. 13.5 seconds further back. Ross McCormack looks to be set for a P4 finish as well, with Akshik 35 seconds behind and Viles 18 seconds ahead. Never seen such a race where the gaps are just so hefty and there's no battles. There we have it. Eric wins the race. Never in doubt, really. A very convincing win there for Eric. Andrew set for the P2. And Viles with a very solid finish here in P3. Forrest McCormack looks to be grabbing that P4 finish that we talked about, with Akshik in P5. Let's see if we can't grab a few people for a little bit of an interview. Welcome back, Eric. Good to see you again.
Hello, Pirate.
So, well, pretty solid race today. Never in doubt, I think, would be the correct way of summing that up. Tell me what's different between today's race and previous rounds. You seem to have found a good bit of rhythm today.
Yeah, so I had some poor attendance. I missed 2 races in a row. The last week, Le Mans was quite a mediocre performance. So I thought for tonight I need to get my shit together and see if I can be fast again.
Well, you certainly seem to have found that you were hitting a new lap record every lap, it seemed, for a while, and then you managed to be the only driver to get the 144s. Is this just down to practice, or was there any particular strategy that you employed today?
I mean, compared to last week I joined in quali without any practice. Today I did a couple laps in the morning. So yeah, I had some more practice this time around. Also, I've done quite a few laps at Silverstone in the past. So it's and I really enjoy the track. And I think the car around here is great. So yeah, that's probably adds to it as well.
Yeah, Silverstone definitely seems to be like a bit of a what I would call a Marmite track. You either love it or hate it, it seems. But I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed this one. How about Yas Marina? That's the finale next weekend. Is that a track that you've got a lot of time on as well?
Never tried it, and I don't watch F1, so I have no idea. I haven't even looked at the track map. I don't know what it is like. I have no idea.
It'll be a surprise though. It's going to be a night race though, so it should be interesting dynamic. But it's what's his name, Herman Tilke track. So read into that what you will. But looking forward then next weekend, Eric, to see how you handle it, and if you can put out another performance like you did today, it's going to be a fantastic result for you and a good strong finish to the championship. But I think you went into today's round in 5th place overall, including your drop round. Binding's not finished the race today, so definitely have edged up a position on Binding. But how close you are now to the top 3, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait for the final results to come in. But yeah, great results there, Eric. Congratulations, and looking forward to seeing what you have in store for us for the finale next weekend.
Oh, thank you.
Catch you in a bit. Thank you. Andrew, back on form.
Yeah.
Great start to the interview there. How was your race today, Andrew?
Boring.
I know. It was the least amount of action I've seen in a race for a long time, let alone an LMP2 race.
Yeah.
What happened at the beginning? There was a little bit of action towards the beginning. I think Binding, your teammate, got spun out by his own accord, I think, and picked up some damage. There was also a bit of an issue with his pit stops. Can you tell me what was going on from a team perspective there?
Binding binned it before the 15 minutes had elapsed, so he tried waiting until we crossed over that threshold so he could get his mandatory stop done, but it didn't work, so he got disqualified.
Yeah, I think he was already in the pit lane before the window had opened, and I think that's the bit that counts. But I could see him waiting to enter the pit box to the last second, but unfortunate for Binding, it wasn't the HDMI cable this time or running out of fuel. It was a new challenge that he's unlocked.
Yeah.
So, championship-wise, you're in a pretty good spot. You're P2 going into today's round, including the drop rounds. With today's results, you should be in a pretty good spot against Forrest McCormack, although it's not clear exactly where that is just yet. How are you feeling about the final round?
I think I'll be 4 points behind him, so if I win the race, I'll win the championship.
Oh, very nice. So
it should be exciting.
Yeah, Yas Marina then. Have you done a lot of that before? It's not a track that most people seem to spend a lot of time on.
I don't think I've ever driven it on anything outside of the Formula 1 games, so...
Okay.
Should be interesting, and I've never driven the newest layout, which they started using about 5 years ago.
And what's the change between the existing layout and that one?
A few less abrupt stops, a bit more flow, so better to drive, but perhaps less overtaking opportunities.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. It's going to be a bit of a wild card track, I think, because yeah, not many people spend a lot of time on. So midweek practice is going to be quite important, I would have thought.
Yeah, I imagine it will be.
Well, looks like you
won't be doing any.
Well, it looks like it'll be a close run thing between you and Forrest. Hopefully, there's a good battle to be had in the final race.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, Andy. Well, we'll catch you in a bit. Thank you very much, and congratulations on another solid podium.
Yep. See you later.
Later. Mr. Viles, welcome.
Hello.
So, very solid result for you today. How are you feeling after that?
Really good actually. I think I started P5, so I think my start was kind of what made it, you know, to sort of third place, and then I held on to it. I think, again, I was toying with the strategy in my mind. I was just waiting for the fuel to keep depleting. My tyre wear was about 50-50 on front and back, and I was debating about just not putting the tyres on to try and battle Andrew, but again, I don't really know what the outcome could be for that. I could lose loads of time. So with a fresh set, and I actually didn't put the correct tyre PSI in on the setup for the pit, so I had the wrong pressure, which then was in the red zone.
Okay.
Which made the car a bit more slidey, but I was getting quicker and quicker. So I think I've got an idea for the next round, but we'll see.
It's a good thing you haven't told anyone about this idea, Viles.
I mean, I told him on round 2 at Sebring.
Oh, interesting. What the higher tyre pressures help the car?
Well, as in like I managed to at Sebring before my pit stop. I was getting quicker with degraded tyres, with a bit more sort of sliding action to get the car rotated in. But again, I haven't attempted that at all. So I've just been, you know, sticking on a new fresh set and push. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens next round.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing how things wrap up at the end of this championship. You went into the race or the championship race today in 8th place. I think your performance today will definitely have helped you climb a few positions, and it's always exciting to see a double podium for your team. So I think from the team standings,
definitely.
you're going to be in a pretty good spot as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we can get closer to the other guys, because me and Eric missed a couple of rounds.
Yeah, well, if Eric can pull out a similar performance next weekend, and so can you, Viles, I think you're going to be in for a really nice sort of finish to this championship.
And not share his setup.
Exactly. Very good. Well, thank you, Viles, as ever, for your interview and all your hard work on organising everything. And congratulations on the solid result today. It's been a nice little one to watch for your podium finish. If not for the fact that the race had very little else action going on for it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the start was the biggest part, and that was it.
Yeah, it was a shame, really. But
Considering that the qualifying times are, sort of all within a second of each other, but
yeah, I know it's weird. They happen though. So as Red was saying in chat, so hopefully we'll have a more exciting race for next weekend.
yes, definitely. Hopefully.
Very good, Vars. Well, I will leave you the rest of your evening. Congratulations again, and I will catch you next weekend.
Thank you. See you next week.
Cheers. Alright guys, thank you all very much for your involvement today, whether you've been in chat, on the track, or helping to just keep things going in the Discord. Appreciate all your efforts, and looking forward to finishing off our LMP2 League next weekend at Yas Marina. So tune in next weekend for the big finale, and we'll see whether Forrest McCormack or Andrew bring it home to the final top spot. But without further ado, good evening, and I will catch you all again next time. Top spot. But without further ado, good evening, and